inserts can be glued in by creating an opening that's larger than the insert that you're trying to install, or you can press fit them by using an arbor press and our die set. I would recommend that you would chamfer the lower edge of each insert, which will help when it comes to press fitting. So I've just put it into a ring clamp, and using the small file, I'm just knocking off that edge there. And using a rotary tool, I find I can get the job done a little bit quicker. So all you want to do is get to where it just fits inside the top edge of your hollow knife handle. And then you're going to choose your tube length. We have 30 and 60 millimeter tubes. And then you need to remove the top to expose the upper threads. The upper threads will sit down inside of the lower die. There are two die sizes, one for 14 millimeter inserts and one for 16 millimeter inserts. And then you're just going to press it down in place and screw the top on. I've added a keychain here for hanging. I'm using dry cement in this example here, along with a tiny funnel. We carry these funnels on our website, along with many of the tools that you will see in this video, just to demonstrate that how you can use this as a memorial container for cremains. So we have several tools for rounding out and expanding the opening of your hollow knife handles. You want to do this slowly, as you can split the side of your hollow knife handle. Knives have two different styles, generally speaking. Those that have a seam along the side and those that are solid. If you try and expand one that has seams, you may find easy to split. And in that case, all you would need to do is just cut off the split portion and try again. So I'm taking a file here, and I'm also chamfering the inside edge of the hollow knife handle. Just makes for press fitting, makes for easier press fitting. You'll find there's all kinds of gunk and garbage on the insides of these handles. So you do want those things cleaned out in order to press fit or glue fit your inserts. This is one of our hollow knife rounding tools that I cut off with a chop saw because I didn't need the tiny end of it. So I go back and forth between different tools, finding which one is going to give me the best round opening. If you try and use the expanding tool too quickly, you'll find that you create a lump in the metal at the top. Just using a little piece of sandpaper and smoothing off that upper cut edge there. In this case, I'm using an O-ring at the top. We include two O-rings with the insert purchase. They're really not necessary, but they do make a nice look when you're transitioning between the two pieces. So you're welcome to use them, or not. The choice is totally up to you. Again, we're going to press fit using the arbor press and the die set. And let it pop right down on top there. And you can see how that makes a really beautiful transition between the two. Little burr there on the edge. That cleans right off. So we carry a number of hanging accessories and keychain accessories. We have stationary hanging. We have the rotating hangers. And here I'm going to show you how you can make a beaded top and add all kinds of beads and baubles and really fancy this up. This is just a head pin, and it goes through the pre-drilled hole in the cap. We had the manufacturer put a tiny hole in the cap so that if you did want to add accessories, that you wouldn't have to mark the center of the cap and then drill it and find out that it didn't drill exactly in the center. So we took care of that for you. If you do not want anything in the cap and you don't want the contents to come out, say that you do have cremains in the tube and you do not want the cremains to come out that tiny hole, you will have to plug that hole up. And I would suggest just putting some glue on the inside of that hole. So I'm just choosing my beads and how I'm going to style this top. And using my power flush cutters, I cut that head pin off and just create a little loop. And that is going to be attached to the necklace assembly, which I have already made. This is great for people who love beading and doing bead work, because you can really personalize pieces with your beading style. And just opening the jump ring, and I'm going to attach the cap assembly. Now I'm going to add that cap assembly to the piece that we just did. So the cap assembly, as it is right now, is really better suited for one that doesn't have a keychain on it. So I'm just going to swap that over to one I made earlier. And you can see that that would make a really beautiful pendant. Beautiful piece of memorial jewelry. You do not have to use this for cremains. Whatever you can fit in that tube, you can turn into a beautiful vintage piece. I'm using the center drill bit and giving a little chamfer to that top hole there, which will allow that crystal rivet to sit down flush. If you don't chamfer that hole, if you don't create a beveled edge, you're not going to be able to see that the crystal sits flush. And I'm using a wax pickup tool with the cap. I've set this on top of a rubber block. Just grabbing a bolt, whacking it, and that sets the cap and will hold the rivet in place. Really, really super easy. So it's a nice way to add the birthstone, perhaps, of the person whose cremains you have put inside of there. And I'm just going to show you some different styles that I've done. We have a lot of new accessories coming up, including the stylus tip insert, which you can see on the right end of the bottom piece. So let's take what we've learned and we're going to make a memorial pen. So the first end that I'm unscrewing right now, that is what is holding the cremains. And I've accessorized it with a birthstone at the top. And now we're going to put a pen in the opposite end. So I'm using one of our pen tips. We carry these pen tips on our website, and we have for years, one of our absolute best sellers. And we're inserting the tube. Then we place this mini refill in, and we're going to set the depth of the insert, we're going to set the depth of the refill. Push it to just where you like it. Then you're going to take a marker and you're going to mark where the refill ends. Now remove the cap and remove the refill. Then we're going to cut at that line, just below that line. And then using a torch, I'm going to heat that bottom edge just enough to melt the tip, not much. Then I'm going to take a plier with teeth in the jaws, and I'm going to squeeze that closed. And it happens very quickly. Then I'm going to take some scissors and just trim off those wide little wings so it fits better inside of the hollow knife handle. I will not be press fitting. I will be gluing this one in. Therefore my opening now is larger. If I were press fitting, the opening would be a bit smaller. Just clean off that glue there. Then we reinstall the insert, and I'm going to check and see how much of it's going to stick above the cap. So I think there's just a little bit too much. I'm going to trim just a hair off the end of the refill, and you're welcome to do that. And reinstall the tip of the pen. This makes a really beautiful gift. Again, I'm chamfering that top hole there. And this time I'm going to install a bezel cup that I've set a rhinestone in. And I've chamfered that hole because there is a little bump where the post attaches to the bezel cup, and I want that to sit down flat on top of the cap. So I just created a little bit of a chamfer with the center drill bit. Once you've let the glue set up, I'm just putting a little glue on the post. Now I'm taking a rubber earring back and pressing it down nice and tight there inside the cap. Then using my Power Max flush cutters, I press down so I can get just below that rubber surface and clipping off that post. And now I have a nice little bling there on the top that sits up nice and tall. We have bezel cups in 3, 5, and 7 millimeter sizes, and do carry those on our website, along with crystal rivets and many of the tools. Coming very soon, we're going to have rollerball inserts for those of you that want to fill it with perfume or essential oils or aromatherapy. We also have coming up seam rippers. We carry both the seam rippers and the bushing inserts that you would need. And here's some examples of doing some double-ended work. And there is another example of a pen with a stylus tip insert. So we have those items coming up, so keep an eye on those.